ready to go. If everybody's seeing that screen, it basically says you absorb energy through your left hand and pass and share it through your right hand. Are we all in the same place?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm still admitting people. New system here makes me admit people. Very fun. Okay, so just to briefly cover things that I cover every time, make sure that you are passing and sharing this information around about our Facebook group. It is a private group. You do need to join, and it's WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics. And then also, please share with people that the WAVwatch is not a medical device. Nothing about it is medical, and it is a self-care idea, and it does have lots of ideas, 850 different sound frequencies, but basically they are all acoustical frequencies. So we are not making any comments. We do have labels. The 850 frequencies are labeled according to a healthcare problem, but that does not mean that you have been diagnosed with that healthcare problem. Those words are used only so that we can identify what the frequency might be helpful for. So again, just another little review there is what we were just looking at. So we're going to be talking about eyes today. And I thought maybe this might be an easy topic, but boy, I really got into it, and I think I need to go see my, an eye specialist, or make sure that I'm doing some background there. I've got a couple more slides I see. Don't forget that on the WAVwatch, each frequency set is like a different song, and usually if you play a song, your body hums along to it. But if it doesn't care for that song, it just kind of tunes it out and lets it go, all without upsetting your system. So again, these are acoustical frequencies. So we hear sound all day long, and we should be able to hear acoustical frequencies. Now, I did have one person who called me last week and said that he had problems. He said that he played the WAVwatch on inflammation, pain, and trauma all night long, and he thought it kind of bothered something in the back of his head. And as far as I know, I don't know what happened, if it actually was the WAVwatch, if there was something else, if there were 2 or 3 things that combined with that. But we all do, and we all are aware that we don't want to blast our body with something day in and day out, that kind of thing. We want to have our frequencies lower. We want to make sure that we break up the frequencies. Obviously, your body's going to get bored. Maybe that's one easy way to say it. If it listens to the same song all day long, I mean, who wants that? Your ears don't want that. And probably when you're absorbing frequencies, you don't want that either. I mean, you can play it for longer periods of time. There has not been any scientific research done to show that 2 hours of listening to the same song is harmful to you. But on the other hand, I do have some information that 8 minutes is the length of time suggested by most practitioners for frequencies. And then you would repeat after a short break. So if that set that you are using has a combo, and it plays that combo, say it's an hour combo, there are several frequency sets that are playing in that combo, and it would play through the combo. And then if you have it set on the double arrows, it would continue through all of the individual ideas in that folder another time. And so that would give it an idea and you the ability to play it 2 times or repeat after a short break, which has been suggested. And then again, if you're really looking at the amount of frequencies, the length of time, if it's 8 minutes, it's just that frequency by itself. If it's 15 minutes, it's the frequency plus inflammation, pain, and trauma. That is really the basis of so many things from my work with people for a couple of years before I launched the WAVwatch. So it would be Actually just 7 minutes of the 8 minutes of the main frequency and 7 minutes of the other one. And then a 30-minute frequency set or more would have several frequencies listed together. And my main example of that is I learned from women's breast health that those lumps tended to change pretty drastically in a 30-minute time period if we played the breast problem itself. And then if we played inflammation, pain, and trauma, we played a lymph detox, and we played liver and kidney detox. And that seemed to just jump out and really do a good job for several women's breast problems. So anyway, that's just a kind of an idea for that. And I do apologize. I do not know if anybody else has had any problems with that. This is the first one that had ever let me know that he thought that there was a problem. To go on, I mentioned that we're going to be talking about eyes today, and that seemed to be pretty easy when I started looking at it. There are just about 11 different frequency sets, and half of them are for cataracts and the other half are for different types of eye problems. And I just learned a lot because that's not my specialty area. I've talked the last 2 times about breast, and that is my specialty area, and I could keep talking and keep talking about that. But today we're going to be talking about eyes. So basically, you will see the different sets there. And just to refresh your memory, I think I just kind of mentioned it, but in case you're just coming on, if it says cataracts 1, 2, and 3, those are just different songs. There's a few different frequencies in them, and each one of those ideas has about 30 different frequencies. It's just the opposite of our emotions. Those frequencies are usually just 1 or 2 frequencies, where other sets that I've used and put together have about 30 frequencies in them. So these frequencies are just a little bit different, and so they're just named cataract 1, 2, and 3. So that's basically a little bit of difference there. And then we'll be talking about some real specifics. Oops, I think I just missed somebody from the waiting room. Well, let me see if I can get her in. Maybe click one time. There it is. Is there, hopefully we've got that taken care of. Waiting room. So a cataract, basically, I don't know if anybody's actually seen a person with cataracts or had them themselves, but you'll see that the lens looks very cloudy and very different. And they can be very small and not cause a lot of vision problems, or they can involve the entire lens and cause blindness, obviously. I couldn't find a lot on what they thought caused cataracts because I really wanted to share that with you, but I didn't know myself and I couldn't really find anything with it. And all I found was that cataracts interfere with the lens fibers, causing them to degenerate. So wouldn't it be nice to know what is causing those fibers to break down? Now, of course, they say that we get cataracts as we age, and so a lot gets blamed on that cycle there of just normal life. But anytime I looked at a supplement, obviously there are some things you can put in your eyes, and the list goes on and on. Of course, there was a lot of negativity about, oh, this supplement does, this supplement doesn't. The medical doctors are saying, no, no, no. So you would want to do your own research and make sure that you're taking care of your eyes, because this is a very common problem. So I was kind of shocked at these statistics, but that by the age of 75, half of us will have problems with cataracts. We could also have an injury, obviously, but there's 24.4 million people age 40 and over will develop cataracts. So that kind of makes you think, doesn't it? And how we need to just definitely be taking care of our eyes. And of course, with our lifestyle in the last couple of years, I haven't gone to my eye doctor. So this was just really good for me to refresh my memory and my need to take care of my eyes a little bit better. So you're going to see some blurred vision, double vision. You might see some halos. You'll see changes in night vision and depth perception. Your vision might decrease when you're out in the sun. You might have some trouble distinguishing colors and difficulty reading. So that whole list there is kind of make us think about and make sure that we are not having those problems. So very important to realize how many people are affected by cataracts. So I was so thrilled that I could actually offer something for cataracts. And I do have a couple of testimonies on cataracts. And I believe one of them was given to me orally, and then I asked her to text it, and I could not find it. So I didn't put those down because they weren't, quote unquote, officially in my hands, But I have had several people give me information about eye improvements. And the cataracts, one person said that they had already had cataract surgery and they still hadn't been able to see for a couple of months. And that when they ran the WAVwatch, that it paid for itself. I could remember it, but I couldn't find it to give it to you and to put it in this workshop. But basically, he was saying after just 30 minutes or so, just a very short time period, that cloudiness had gone away. And then his exclamation point was the WAVwatch paid for itself in 30 minutes or a short period of time just because of that. So he was thrilled. And then I've had another lady say that she thought that it saved her from cataract surgery. She'd had it on one eye, the other eye was getting bad. And she knew that there were improvements, and at least she has been able to put off surgery. So I think the sad part about this slide right here is that our medication can cause so much of this. We are on medication. Our society is medicated, but I think that the group of women that I'm talking to now are pretty unmedicated, if I could say that. I don't know y'all personally, but I think we're all aware of some different problems, and we try to do the least amount that we can. But some medications are going to cause problems. And again, to me, that raises the possibility of us having problems with cataracts as time goes by. So corticosteroid, a lot of people have that. It is longer term use. They say just a short period of time, but you can't say that across the board. That's what the medical community said. And that's what I saw on several MD websites. But I think that there are variations in everything. And so in some people, even just a short time on a steroid could cause problems with their eyes later in life. Also, statins that are used to reduce your cholesterol are a risk. Now, just think this through, people. If by the age of 75, if half of us are having trouble with our eyes and how many of us are on statins? I forgot to look that up, but I think I've seen statistics before that, 50 to 80% of the population is on is on statin medications as we age. And sadly, it is causing more problems than just that. I know my dad went on a statin medicine, and within just a couple of days, he was peeing blood. That's the way to say it, And my mom, it didn't help her heart. It caused some problems. So, and also messed with her mind. So in case you haven't heard this statistic, 60% of people who are on statins have trouble with dementia or Alzheimer's. So be very, very careful with that. And I believe that did happen to my mom. If you've got an eye injury or inflammation, you're going to be having some possibilities later in life with cataracts developing. If you've had eye surgery, that's another risk. And ladies, or gents, I guess, hormone replacement therapy is connected with cataracts. So when I open this up at the end of time of our time today, I think a lot of you might be commenting on this, I don't know. But when I saw that list, I was just really horrified, you know. So we can't modify our family history. We can't modify if we've had surgery or if we were born with nearsightedness, but those also can add to our risk of having cataracts. And then we can change a few things, they say. I'm not quite sure about this, but you know, hypertension is something they say that we can change with a drug. Well, to me, that's adding to the problem, you know. So we could wear some sunglasses once in a while. We're all being careful with our food and trying to be careful about diabetes, smoking, you know, that hopefully is something that if you're having trouble with smoking, that maybe you can get some support on that, because that is definitely connected with cataracts. And then alcohol consumption is also connected with cataracts. So those are some things that make this such a high risk for us. So again, cataracts. So we've got several choices there. Now, again, we've talked about muscle testing. If you don't think you have a cataract, would it be something that you could use to prevent? And I'm saying yes. I have used it myself. I have muscle tested myself a couple times, and I did test for, I think, cataract 3, and I played that one. But that doesn't mean that I have cataracts. I'm just trying to prevent it, as if I was trying to take a supplement, you know, to work on that idea with helping me with cataracts. So I also have different supplements for my eyes, and I'll muscle test them the same way and use them or not according to my body's need. They say that cataract surgery is very common and very successful, with 4 million cataract surgeries every year. So I had to know what the cost was. If you have Medicaid and insurance, a lot of that is paid for. But if you don't, or you know, something comes up or whatever, I just thought it was interesting that that surgery is between $3,500 and $7,000 per eye. So we're talking a lot of money here. So what is it going to hurt to muscle test, or you know, use your intuition, or maybe you have gone to a doctor and you've been told you have cataracts? It would be, in my opinion, a very smart idea to play the WAVwatch frequencies once in a while for those cataract possibilities. Now, another idea that I thought was interesting is that they've used ultrasound, you know, frequencies, high frequencies, to remove the cataracts. It actually breaks them down. It breaks down that thick lens, and then they suck out the fragments. So, you know, my idea, I'm just phrasing this, could sound frequencies help prevent? So the ultrasound is very high frequencies, and the sound frequencies are from 20 to 20,000. Right in that 20,000 range is the highest. And some people feel that and can hear it, and other people cannot. But that is the frequency that we can hear that is considered acoustical. You know, I started to put some eyes up on some of these pictures, and it was kind of overwhelming. And I see, in my opinion, I could have made this picture just a little bit smaller of the eye. But this one's called a complicated cataract. And there's a picture of, you know, somebody just getting their eyes checked. But usually the complicated cataracts are due more to inflammation. And I noticed that there were some other types of cataracts that they work with, but I didn't have any specific frequencies for those. So I didn't want to, you know, overwhelm us and say, well, what do I do with this one or this one or this one? These are the frequencies that I have to work with and that I can show and share with you. Again, I probably haven't mentioned, I think it's probably obvious, but you go to the icon with organs and select eyes for this particular set that we're talking about. So another picture that I did show here that I already mentioned was really, overwhelming too, as you can see all the redness. So this is an inflammation. And most of us could see that. We could see in the mirror that our eye is inflamed. So one of the first things you could do is run the inflammation, pain, and trauma idea. And you can also go to the eye category and work with some of the frequencies that are labeled such, and we'll be continuing to talk about that. But I thought this was a picture to kind of just show us. I've never seen anybody that has had that problem personally and looked into their eyes. Now, pink eye, we've seen that. We probably all had it as a kid or whatever. So a lot of us have seen that. But again, here we go. Pink eye could be caused from bacteria, viruses, chemicals, or allergies. So there's 4 ideas right there that you could play. You could play the conjunctivitis one, but you can also add to it with the bacteria, viruses, chemicals, or allergies. And so I'm not sure that anybody here has probably gone without pink eye, if it's very, very common. I didn't see any statistics on it. We just all know that it's very common. But burning, itching, irritated eyes, drainage, pink, red eyes, sneezing, ear infections. So all of those are connected with pink eye. And that seems to be very, very common in school children, and it's a little bit of a fear factor, oh, somebody has pink eye, So we do have conjunctivitis on our WAVwatches. So that's an easy one. And again, I have had a verbal testimony, somebody just say, oh yeah, I thought I had conjunctivitis and I just played it. So just a verbal testimony there, but I'm not saying that she wrote it down for me. Now, we also have some frequencies for eye abnormalities. And I don't have any comments on this from people, but this would be what I think this particular one would take care of. I was just muscle testing, and this particular frequency set might help, farsightedness, stigmatism, nearsightedness, and presbyopia, so those are some possibilities, eye abnormalities. And again, I have muscle tested a time or two, and that was one that my body wanted. So I played that. And I did think that I had some improvement, but it hasn't stayed long term. I still have my glasses on, as you can see. So from any of those, you might be having, again, the blurry vision, the double vision, haze, halos around the lights, squinting, headaches, eye strain, trouble focusing when reading or looking at a computer. Now, probably the bottom one is the one I was looking at the most. And probably I just needed a break from the computer, but those are some symptoms that would be connected with these eye abnormalities. So again, I'm always saying muscle test if you want, or play through the whole category if you're just trying to protect your eyes. They're precious. We don't need to be blind or hardly, in the category where we can't drive anymore because we're not able to, pass our driver's test because our eyes. And I have a fun testimony here at the end, so I'm already kind of talking about it. We're going to switch gears. We may be going pretty fast today and get to visit a little bit, but glaucoma refers to a group of eye diseases that cause pressure. So there's so much pressure in there that, again, it changes, and you can see the difference in what somebody's lens would look like or eye should look like. So there are 2 kinds of glaucoma. And I think what maybe I didn't realize is how it can sneak up on you. And you might not even have any symptoms. And then when you do have some symptoms and you go in, they are saying it is not reversible. So maybe you can slow it down. And the medical or the eye doctor's favorite things are eye drops, laser surgery, or laser treatments or surgery. So, we want to keep getting our eyes looked at to make sure that nothing is going on and that nothing is sneaking up behind the scenes. So I'm so glad that I do have a frequency for glaucoma. I have not used it. I haven't muscle tested myself for it, but it is there for people to use if that's of interest to them. So the two kinds of glaucoma, they say have different ideas similar to some of the other pains or problems that you might have with your eyes. So we're a little bit in the dark sometimes if our eyes start bothering us. But I did notice that this acute angle closure glaucoma causes lots of nausea and vomiting, eye pain, severe headache, blurred vision, halos around the lights, and eye redness. So I think the one that really, clued me in, it's like, oh my goodness, I did not know, the nausea and vomiting could be connected with glaucoma. I do with, some different things, but that was a new one for me that I needed to learn. The open angle glaucoma is just patchy blind spots on your side and sometimes your central vision, or you get tunnel vision. So you can tell that your vision is really changing in certain ways. But the open angle one, you're going to know that one. The acute one, to me, there are several symptoms that overlap with other eye problems. And so you definitely need to have those looked at by the medical community, because obviously you don't want to mess with your eyes and lose any sight. But at this point, you do have a tool that you can use until you get into a doctor to get those checked so that you're protecting the eyes to your best ability. And then you're going to want to look online. I kind of ran out of time and it was getting a little long, but there are so many things that you could do with foods. That's what I saw when I looked up natural ideas for any kinds of eye problems. And it was just food after food after food. I also saw, drinking vinegar, mother's vinegar. It was really good for your eyes, and taking honey was really good for your eyes. And then, of course, those yellow and orange vegetables are so good, plus lots of spinach and kale. So those were the main ones that were mentioned naturally. And then also, you're going to be able to find some supplements for your eyes. So with all of the things that we do to bother our eyes today, you might want to make sure that you do have some of that in your, your cabinet, your medicine cabinet, something for your eyes. We all know that our lives are changing, and that might be one thing to stock up on. Now, sadly, I didn't see any frequencies for age-related macular degeneration. So, you could circumvent it just a little bit. You could use the circulation sets. You could use the kidney sets, the liver sets, but you could still use some of the eye frequency sets, because again, some of those have frequencies that might overlap and be helpful. But muscle test if that's of interest to you before you actually use that particular, or excuse me, before you use something if you have been diagnosed with AMD. I'm getting to my fun part here. And I thought this was going to take a lot of time, and it looks like I'm going through it pretty fast. But visual acuity, that is the one that my body tells me I need the most. And so, you're going to go have a test to determine how sharp and clear your vision is. And so we need to be working on that. And sometimes it's just kind of fun to pull up a test. You can do this online now to check your own vision and see where you're at. Very important for us to know that our vision is or is not problematic, or what is going on with it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, here's what I already alluded to. I did go ahead and put this down. She told this to me verbally. And this lady is the cutest lady. Her and her husband actually have 5-way watches between them because they use them a lot. And she said they just don't want to be without them. And so she mentioned that she uses it all the time. And she was having trouble with her driver's license. And so she used the WAVwatch for her ears and her eyes. And she said, in my office, she was telling me this, and she said she showed me she did, she didn't have one hearing aid on. She'd taken off just one hearing aid, and she retook her driver's license vision test and passed. So unbelievable, she said, and she only used the WAVwatch. So that was one of the reasons why she didn't want to be without it. And sadly, I don't know exactly which frequencies she was using. I believe she was using the cat one, but that's just, I didn't want to be too specific. She was using the ones that, obviously her body needed. And she did have some great results with that. So that was so fun to see somebody that in person that, she showed me, hey, I don't wear this hearing aid anymore. And I passed my driver's test. So she was driving that day, and it was just unbelievable and great. Now, I threw another one in that I found because I thought it was really interesting. We do have something called a corneal ulcer. And I haven't seen this personally on anybody. Like I said, I'm not an eye specialist. I just wanted to cover this and learn it a little bit more and hopefully, share some information with you. Obviously, I'm not saying it's a doctor's interpretation. It's just information that I gathered up, and I thought it was helpful to pass along. So this picture is showing an infection caused by bacteria, viruses, or fungus can cause that. So people who wear contact lenses are at higher risk for this. And that's because infection can get trapped behind the lens. And I know I have mentioned that I do some testing on a biomeridian or an MSA system. And many times it brings up a bacteria or a parasite, and it says connected with contact lenses. So if you think you have something like this, you already have something on your WAVwatch that could possibly be protective. So the bacteria, the virus, the fungal, the yeast, on the WAVwatch could be helpful if you have been diagnosed with this. And it causes a lot of pain, intense redness. You're feeling like your eyes scratched, sensitivity to light and blurry vision. So that's a huge one. I think that, I did not see a frequency for that. I have the feeling I might have missed a couple. I also had some slides that were covering a brunescent cataract, and that is a cataract that's really dark and brown. And I don't know whether to flip back through my, frequency or my PowerPoint here and see if I can find it or just share it with you. But basically, we do have frequencies for that brunescent cataract. And then for a complicated cataract, I did see that one. But the brunescent one is brown and very unusual looking. And I guess I wanted to comment on that. I didn't exactly know what a brunescent cataract was, but when they said it was brown, it made pretty, the word was easy to characterize. And obviously we have brunettes with brown hair and we have brunescent cataracts. So they are basically a brown growth on your lens. Now, I wanted to speak just a little bit about muscle testing. We talk about it a lot. I showed some in depth last week, and then I had a lady call me and we went over it again. So I'm thinking I have new people each time and some different things, but your body can really speak to you through muscle testing. And I did find, muscle response testing is another word for it. I just call it muscle testing. But one way that I thought was really interesting, or one phrasing, when your body hears truth, it is strengthened. And when it hears a lie, it is weakened. This obviously lines up with biblical principles such as truth, leads to life, and lies lead to death. So I did get this off of the Next website, which I gave credit to. Whoops. And so hopefully you can see that at the very bottom there. But different words for this idea: muscle response testing, MRT, kinesiology, muscle testing, stand and sway. Some of them might be giving you some different ideas. So it basically is connected to quantum physics. So this one is the second one. You're rubbing your finger. And if you say a true statement, it just kind of slides and glides along. And if you say a false statement, it's just really sticky. Your skin response changes when you're telling a falsehood or a false statement. And so again, on these muscle testing ideas, the easiest thing is to really say your name and feel what that feels like. So on this one, my name is Linda. And it just slides and glides. My name is Sue. And as soon as I get it out, I can't even slide my fingers. And I'm not sure how much you can see in my imaging here. But basically, I really suggest that you look this up if you're not interested in it already. I may be just talking to talking to everybody that already knows about it, but very interesting. So it is related to quantum physics and quantum entanglement. You can communicate with your body with yes or no questions. And then if we even go beyond that, we can read each other's energy because we're all connected. So that's such a stretch for some people. We do know what our own bodies need. But again, if you want to learn a little bit more, you can learn how we're connected to others, and we can muscle test for other people. So I try to at least get women in my office, if they're woke up in the middle of the night and their child is screaming with an earache, hopefully they now have the WAVwatch and they have several things they can do. But maybe they're going to look in their medicine cabinets, and the easiest thing to do is to muscle test for that person who is problematic. Might not be your child, it might be a spouse or your significant, somebody that when you get into a really hard situation, you will appreciate that you can test for somebody else. So again, you can say, does Audrey need this particular supplement? And it will, slide, or it will stick if that's a no. With this method, you can do ring to ring, and it will pull apart if the answer is no. Does Audrey need, or does Audrey have cataracts? I could even say it that way. And the answer would be no. So lots of different ways, and we all have to get to the stage where we're comfortable with it. But I am just hoping that it's something that we've shared that will at least start you on that path of educating yourself if you haven't learned about it. And again, I got this information from ministries, which I thought was so interesting, because some people will automatically say, oh, that's woo, I can't do that. We can't muscle test. Well, here is a Christian group that has a whole book written. It was a fascinating little read. And just to finish this up, they are saying that if you can't muscle test, if it doesn't work when you're trying to say somebody else's name and it doesn't work, or it's just the opposite of what it should be, that your polarity is reversed. And guess what he tells you to do? Which I thought was so neat, because we talk about this all the time. So if your polarity is reversed, if you're not muscle testing very well, or it doesn't feel right to you, you can't really tell, it's not a definite yes or no, you're probably lacking salt in your body. So again, the suggestion was to take a little bit of water with some salt and then retest it, see if your testing was better. So we've talked about this, but I just found this particular quote that was definitely sane, definitively, definitely. Either way you want to say it, was saying that salt is connected with our ability to muscle test. So just some information that I thought that you might like on that. So I'm not sure that I have anything else. I know I'm winding down with these slides here. Now it's going to jump probably 2 or 3 times. Yes. So we are basically finished. And so I'm going to open up the site and let everybody share information or make some comments or whatever we need to do. So I'm going to try to unmute everybody, and thank you for your attention, and hopefully we've gotten some good information out about your eyes so that you can pass that around or use it for yourself and share it, whatever you would like to do. I just really appreciate that. So I think we are ready to start sharing, and you may unmute yourself if you have a question or if you have a comment, either way. Oh, and before we start, I had a lady on last time and her name didn't connect. It wasn't actually a name. And she said she was having trouble with the WAVwatch and that she'd sent an email. And I said, oh, good, I'll look it up. But of course, I never found her email or a contact information. So if that lady is on again, I gave my another email is provided and my phone number. So hopefully she can catch up with me. So. All right, needed to get that out of the way because I really apologize. I did not find her email. So comments, anybody would like to say anything?
You mentioned earlier that there's more quotable allergy season right now.
Yes.
Is there one on the WAVwatch for allergy?
Yes, it's in the self-care category.
Okay, I'll look for it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have noticed that something's in the air.
Yes. And then I would always suggest if you have allergy problems that you always run liver, the whole frequency set for liver, because, you know, the liver's just gotten overloaded and it's not taking those toxins out. So very important to kind of put those two together.
And probably chemtrails too.
Oh, yes. Perfect. See, I mean, you know, I'm trying not to brag on the WAVwatch, but, you know, you got lots of things that it can cover. We just need to be, you know, using our minds and be open to the fact that we can take care of ourselves better. I wish I could think of the person who made this quote. I have her book at my office and I know her first name is Susan. But somewhere in her book, she said that we quit taking care of ourselves in the medieval times, basically. It was such a fabulous quote. She said that at that time that we were more a matriarchal society, and women, sorry guys, there's a few guys, but that the women, you know, were taking care of all of these self-care ideas, and they knew how to you know, use the body, how everything circled together and it was all connected, you know, so we had better health then, if you want to say it that way, you know, and you can kind of think about it because so many of those women were killed during medieval times. And her figure that I wanted to be able to quote correctly for you, and I'll try to do a better job. I just, off the top of my head, I'm just telling you. But she said that more women were killed in that 500-year history than died in the Holocaust. So they effectively wiped out women who were into self-care. And so I just appreciate you women so much. We're stringing it together again. We're putting it together and taking care of ourselves. All right, that was my silly comment, but
Thank you.
Hey, Linda, it's Joan.
sure.
I have all the same symptoms of when I had COVID in January, but my home test was negative, but I'm testing for the full coronavirus combo on the watch.
Wow.
So to me, that's kind of one of the ways. I mean, I have all the same symptoms. It's just those home tests, I didn't test for it.
Wow.
So,
That's
and,
pretty interesting, isn't it?
and
So,
I don't test. In the past, I thought, well, maybe I have it, and I don't test for the coronavirus, any of it. But I'm testing for it now, and I'm testing for ivermectin, and I'm testing for quercetin, and I'm testing for L-lysine. I mean, all the things I used in January to fight it.
wow. So people don't forget, thanks for mentioning that, Joan. You know, I haven't printed it, but in that booklet, the second one listed on the coronavirus combo right underneath it is viral immune support. And that is frequencies for vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, and iodine. And then the one that says COVID-19 OSF, that is a frequency basically for hydroxychloroquine, you know, and then those specific frequencies are all in the coronavirus combo. And so if you play that, either way, either method works. If you just keep looping the combo, you're going to be able to play, you know, one frequency set about every hour, which is a really good way to do it. Or if you press the double arrows, it would play through all 31 of the frequencies. And there's more viral frequencies on there. So you might not know which one you need unless you're really adept at muscle testing, but it doesn't hurt to play through a lot of things and cover the bases. So thanks for saying that. And I'm hoping you're going to be on a speedy recovery there.
Well, I also wanted to tell you about the statins. My mother was on statins for like 26 years, and she went into dementia. And I thought there was a relationship. Well, when they changed the LDL and decided it needed to be 100 instead of 200, they doubled my mom's prescription. And within 2 days, she was like a blathering idiot. And I immediately took her off those statins. And fortunately, she came back to me. So there definitely is a connection between statins and dementia.
Oh, there is. And they're not, I have heard from a doctor that, you know, they, you know, go to different schools, and at one school, they were told that statins were so good that they ought to be put in the water supply.
Oh,
So
my Lord.
that's what doctors are being taught now. And I've heard somebody else said, yeah, I heard the same thing, you know, so that is pretty amazing.
Well, is it true that as we age, we need more cholesterol to combat the toxicity in our bodies?
I don't know if I would say more cholesterol, but we are, our liver makes the cholesterol. And so if our liver is not functioning, we obviously have cholesterol out of whack. It's out of balance. And so another way would be probably that we need more cholesterol. And then of course our brains are 60% cholesterol. So, you know, we can't get away from that. Our body needs cholesterol. Why would we mess with it and put it down below? They've changed the numbers. You can find this on Dr. Mercola if you're interested. He had several really good articles about it. I know his life has changed and his website has had to change. He even took down a lot of it for quite a while. But he was one of the first to really be saying that cholesterol medication, that they changed the numbers, that, you know, a number of 240 was okay. You know, without any sound scientific information, that they just arbitrarily changed that number to wanting everybody's cholesterol be below 200. And that's when, if you really look at statistics, that's when all of our senior citizens who were put on cholesterol lowering medication started having trouble with dementia and Alzheimer's. We have made our Alzheimer's pandemic. We have a problem with that.
Wow.
This is
Any-
Jane. And I ran all the folders the other day because my vision's kind of been blurry and whatever. And believe it or not, I think it cleared up something because it seems like that I'm relatively clear. And all morning as you've been speaking here, I have a magnifying light that I'm working on some of my embroidery with, because that's what I do, commercial embroidery. And believe it or not, I was working on it outside of the magnifying light while you were speaking. And I thought, gee whiz, I got this thing turned on. Now, why am I doing that? So obviously it must have helped, or I would have been glued to the magnifying light. And I also found out that, well, the other day I had conjunctivitis pretty bad, it seemed like, or watery eyes. So I just ran that one only, and immediately it cleared it up. It was gone. So I
Jane,
know it really
like we
worked.
coordinate. It sounds like we coordinate. I mean, you've got a testimony on what I'm talking about.
Right. It just don't happen. It seems like you talk about what I've just done or going to do or something. But, and also my husband has had a double cataract surgery on both eyes. He was so bad that, and he didn't even know it, that he couldn't have renewed his license. And he was still driving. I didn't know he was blind either. So immediately we got somebody else to do his driving for him, but he did get them both fixed. And immediately when we came out of Denver, when you get about a few miles east, you can see clear down to Watkins or somewhere in that area on the interstate.
Yes.
You could see the cars going across the bridge down there. So immediately you have vision after you get that done, if you've got a really good person to do it. And both eyes were done at 2 weeks apart, and got the same results, about that. And he's had very, very good. And at one time they did cloud up a little bit, and they say that will happen, but they use a laser and it just an instant. I was in the office when the doctor did it, and it cleared him up, and they said, you never have to have it cleared up again. And it must be true, because his eyes, he's gotten them checked 3 or 4 times now later, and he no longer has to have his eyes change his glasses. They just seem to be right. And that
is, they've got.
But I haven't got to that point where I want to give in. And
if they do 4 million surgeries every year for cataracts, they better have that method down, But, our responsibility maybe would be to learn some things that we could do to protect our eyes, and it's really hard to know. There's so many things to do. So again, that's why. Yes. Go ahead. I think I jumped in and talked over you, Janie. Sorry. We may have lost her. Anybody else have any comments on eyes or things? Any other comments? There you are, Jane. Yes, there you are.
I don't know what happened either. It must be my internet. It has a tendency to do that, it seems like. But the doctor's been trying to get me to have a cataract surgery for 3 or 4 years, or maybe longer than that. And I don't feel like I need it, because I can see quite clearly most of the time. Well, since I got your WAVwatch a year ago, I had my eyes checked later, and they were better yet than they were before. And he really didn't say too much about it. He said, well, whenever you decide you might want it done, well, I guess we can do it. Well, no way. I mean, we do it only if we need it.
Exactly.
I don't think I'm going to need it, because I don't know how other people's eyes are or anything, but at night when you have a light, just a pin light will look like it's scattered stars, possibly. I don't know what you want to call it, just little dots all over. Well, somehow it looks like it's the inside of your eye. When you look just right in a light or something, sometimes I can see at least the vision on the inside of my eye a little bit, seems like. Well, this has been kind of cut off at a side. It's always been kind of like a triangle thing. Those are coming back around. They're getting round shaped again. That tells me those cataracts are backing off.
Yes.
I don't plan on going to see this doctor and getting him to do anything for me like that. I'll go to see if I'm okay, but not for that. So, but I have noticed that both eyes, the vision, those circles are getting more round again, like your eye should be, instead of having a triangle that I've had for a long time. So I know this watch works. It works very well, and it's fixing your whole system all the time, constantly. Everything's working on it. So I have no complaints.
All right. And Janie, you just, your name just kind of jogged that you sent me a picture of dogs, you know, the way you help your dog with it.
Yes.
Many animals, dogs especially, have cataracts. So they do cataract surgery on our animals. I haven't got into that, but you know, it wouldn't be so far-fetched. Janie, could you tell how you were using your WAVwatch for your dog?
Well, this dog does have cataracts also, and do it the same way. The reason I don't put the watch on the dog because he's skittish. He'll run from me and I can't do anything with him. He's been an abused puppy at one time and he's just never gotten over that. And he's like 13 now or something. So I just lay it over on a table or something in the area where he is and just turn it on maybe half volume or something. So I hear it just as much as he does. So I guess I'm getting treated also. And
Boy, you got cataracts. So.
but if it's too loud for him or something bothers him, he just gets up and walks off over another area of the room. But at the same time, he's still hearing that watch. And I know it has helped him so much on everything. I run it. He gets treated, like I say, just as much as I do because he's in here most of the time. And lots of times I run mine high just so he can hear it also. And he listens for it. If he hears me someplace, well, here he comes. He wants me to use it for him because he knows it helps. And another problem he has is probably a fungus allergy on his feet or something on his legs. And I noticed this summer it's not as bad as it was, but it does want to flare up. So immediately we get out molds and allergies and all that kind of stuff running on that dog and me. And it goes away for a while. And then he'll start licking again. So then we start doing our thing, but this might be a week later or so, you know, it's quite a while. So it does work.
All right. Oh, thank you, Janie. Any other comments? Anything else that anybody wants to share?
Hi, Linda, it's Neil.
Hi, Neil.
There's a doctor at York Cardiology in England called Sanjay Gupta, and he does YouTube videos on mostly heart things, but he does one on statins that might be of interest to you. So if you look on YouTube and a video that Dr. Sanjay Gupta does on statins, because he's not the normal cardiologist, he has a entirely different approach to hearts and heart disease. He does a lot of videos explaining how the heart works and why. But so I just was looking at the statin one now, and I didn't look at it all, but he talks about there are some hereditary things where people do have cholesterol issues. But if you don't have those, then he doesn't think you should have a statin. But you may be interested in looking it up and maybe other videos that he does.
Perfect. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Other comments? Any other comments? Well, I just don't want to waste any of your time. I just want to say thank you for being on and, you know, passing the word around and using the WAVwatch. That's the most important thing. So I'll close it out for today unless anybody has any last minute ideas, anything they want to add. I think we got it taken care of. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks.